Good morning, Johanna. For our first episode, I'm gladly that we have Johanna Reich.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly.
Don't worry. It's Reich, but it's a bit difficult.
Okay. So, Johanna is a media artist from Cologne, Germany, if I'm right. Yeah? No?
Yes.
You
Yeah,
didn't move?
perfect.
She works with many different mediums such as video, photography, installations, and also painting. And she also works with archival materials, performance, and participatory projects. Today, we're gonna talk about Resuface number 1 and 2. And first of all, unfortunately, we don't have our curator, Carol, but she wrote a few lines about your work. So I would read it out loud. I would like first to
Yes, please.
say, yeah. I would like first to say that I'm really honored and grateful to Johanna, who accepted to participate in the Women's Eye exhibition that I'm curating in the framework of Photo of Kiev. Because for me, she embodies a passionate and committed artist who not only expresses herself with intelligence through art, but also acts and materializes her statement by intervening and rewriting art history. Her great project, Resurface 1 and 2, involves indeed the body of 400 women artists, portraits of the 19th and 20th century, disappeared from art books, and whose profiles and artworks have been added to Wikipedia so that their names will finally remain.
Yes, hopefully. There's a lot to do.
Fingers crossed. Can you tell about the project and what was the main inspiration for you?
Yeah, it's a bit a long story because when I was student at the Academy of Fine Arts, I thought, wow, we are so equal and we were so many women artists, and I didn't really think about equality. It felt equal. But then after some years of living after I finished art academy, living as an artist, I got pregnant, and then everything changed, and it was really a bit a shock to me because I thought, okay, in the art scene we are so open-minded and everything, but it started really when people saw my belly and saw that I was pregnant. It's really, I lost my gallery because my gallerist, a woman, she said, okay, yeah, when artists or female artists get a baby, they can't do serious art anymore. So
Wow.
I don't work with artists who have kids because they can't really focus on that issue. And the next thing was when my son was 3 weeks ago, I received a funding and a stipend and a residence to go to Brazil. And I said, oh, great. So we go together as a family because there was space. And but then the curator told me, oh, you have a baby? No, that's not possible. You can't come. And I said, yeah, but I have my partner. He can take care of the baby. I work. No. We made really bad experiences with women artists, and they can't concentrate on their work. And so you cannot come. And we don't do that. And by the record, this phone call never happened. We write that you cannot come because it's too dangerous for the baby. And I said there, what? And I was so shocked, and I couldn't.
Insane.
Yeah, so I was really irritated. And so I remembered this famous article, I think you know, of Linda Notchlin from the 70s, and why have there been no great women artists? And I really was wondering, because it's very important, because she describes the problematic situation of women in the arts, that it was difficult to attend academy, to get the right education, and it was difficult, and therefore women couldn't be that good as men in that topic. And of course I agreed, but I really was wondering, but I cannot believe that there were only these few women artists like Frida Kahlo, or in Germany, Käthe Kollwitz, that we know. And I did start research. So I started like 8 years or 9 years ago. And for example, at the Museum for Women in the Arts in Washington, they have a great archive. And I found so many interesting, brilliant female artists that I was really impressed. And I thought, wow, I have a history. As a female artist, I have a history. And that was something so precious. So I started this project, and this project is to collect female artists from the beginning of photography. So the only, or the limit for me is that there has to be a photography, a portrait of this artist. And the other line is they have to be dead. So I'm only collecting the past. I'm looking back in history. And so I started to collect these artists, and I also made a Polaroid of each of the photos of these female artists, and record the development process. So you have like this blank photo, and then it's developing, and the outlines of the artist appear. And so it's like a film to make all these artists appear again. And of course, then me and my team, we looked up which of these artists are present in the internet, which are there. Because the thing is, today is truth is what you can Google. If you cannot Google a person, it's not there. It's not existent. So I really thought, okay, we have to correct history by using this democratic tool of Wikipedia. And of course, some of the artists I had were already online, but others not. And I'm working so with art historians and friends, and they do research also for me and write articles. I don't do it myself, the articles, because I think it has to be done really well. And so I get a lot of support of this team.
So
that's Resurface One.
So it's more like a collaborative project between you, art historians, and how many people approximately are you involved?
Yeah, it depends. It's because it's, for example, there are some different ones in different countries, and some worked for me like 5 years ago, but only on 2 Indian artists, for example. So it's not a constant team, but also, yeah, also people sometimes I get to know via Instagram, or yeah, so it's, but this is only the one side of the project. The other side is really this artistic, to get an image of this whole process, and therefore I made this artwork. So yeah, it's difficult to figure out all the or to name all the people, because it's changing all the time. But yes, it's collaborative.
Okay. And for me, for example, the topic of feminism and a lot of social issues, which now is quite popular, and I would say it's like hype to make projects about it. Sometimes I feel like a bit hypocritical about it, because artists, they tend to do only because of their ego, basically because just to be famous, and not but they really don't care about their projects. So what do you think about it, how to deal maybe with this, and how to recognize this kind of projects?
Yes, I totally, unfortunately, I totally agree with you. It's also, when I started, it was not like that. when I asked for funding, they said, "Oh, what are you doing about women in the arts? It's not a good topic." And now I also see it's popping out everywhere, and all the museums are doing retrospectives of women in the arts. But on the other hand, I don't want to judge, because I think there are many motivations that are maybe a bit strange or maybe ego, but I think it doesn't matter because it's the right topic, you know, and in a way we have to deal with that, and there's so much to do. And of course, maybe there is a wrong intention, or it's sad, but that's how it is. And I think we have to put our strength together to change something. And of course, there is always these shades of gray and not black and white, and it's good. So we have to live with that and go on.
No, what do you think, for example, recently I've heard about their as aesthetics of impact. So
Oh my God.
which is, I think, it's exactly about this social issues, which like artists, photographers, they're trying to deal with, but actually they're completely fake. And also what I personally really like in your project, there are a lot of mediums and there are a lot of research behind it, but usually in my opinion, especially photographers, they have their own framework, which is aesthetically pleasant to see, and they're doing it like so basically they're constructing, so they know that they need few elements to include in their work, and then they're just putting it as a, I don't know, minestrone soup, and at the end they're ending up with this aesthetics of impact which have nothing to do with the real impact. So that is why I think it's kind of a problem now. But yeah, at the same time, the topics that although they're sometimes rising or trying to raise, they're very important. And yes, I agree that
Yeah, I
there
really
is.
I think that's very important what you say, because I also see that I think it loses its power if it's done like that. And I also, with my project, for example, I decided not to make a huge website of my project or my
Mhm,
research. I don't care about that, because for me it was more important, or I think it's stronger, just to put them into the normal Wikipedia, just to, you know, to add them. Of course, then I'm not that visible as artist, but that's not my point. That's not my interest. So
mhm.
it's really about using this usual tool that everybody can use, and that everybody could change something. That's the democratic approach of the internet. And that's really, I'm burning for that. And I hope, of course, there's the other side. It's really, this word is taking, oh my God, I'm really
It's insane.
yeah, but that's really a point. And sometimes it's also, I see this, it's a bit like Instagram art, you know. If it's Instagrammable,
Yeah,
it has an impact, and it's just like yeah, but
maybe we can also talk about the gender equality in Germany, and so it's far as I understood that this story about your kid and the gallery was like a bit, I don't know, 10 years ago or something.
yeah.
And how is now?
Yeah, of course, it's changing, or it's I think it's always the question how you look at it. If it's only superficially, we could say, okay, it changed a lot, and women are more and more equal. But if we scratch at the surface, um, I think we didn't deal with the past, with our past, because after World War II, Germany was divided. And the Western part, I'm also from the Western part, we had more this really traditional role model. Like the husband is going to work, earning money, and like the mother is
With
staying
that,
at
yeah.
home, taking care of the kids. But on the other part of Germany, the eastern part, there was the communism, and also men and women did work. They had a different role model. That's very, very interesting. But after the when the wall came down, it's like the Western part said, yeah, we are the right one because we didn't have the communism. So we overtook everything. And also, I think we lost the good parts of the communism. It's a
Mhm.
bit, it's difficult. It's very banal how I explain it because it's more difficult. But I think we still deal with that topic of the German good mother. And for example, in France, we don't have that. This image of this caring mother, and she has to be present. And so I think that's still there. Also, it's getting better and better and better, and it's happening so much, but it's still there.
It's actually very interesting how you described, because I well, I moved to Europe 7 years ago, and from the post-Soviet perspective, the Europe, everything is kind of the same in different countries. But now I can totally understand that there is a completely different perspective to the different events, and especially with coronavirus. For example, for me, that was very interesting to see how every country was reacting about it. So, for example, with the closing borders and all
Yes.
this stuff. Uh, and
How is it at the time, at the moment, in the Ukraine? How do you say? Is it
with the corona, you mean?
no, no, no? With
Uh,
the role of women.
with the role of
Mm.
winner corona. um
No.
it's actually quite well, I can't say for sure, but in my opinion, I would say that it's also quite difficult, unfortunately, because we also have a strong patriarchy society, and this role model of the women who is always the kitchen, preparing to eat and taking care of the kids is still there, I think. Although the new generation is trying to get some Western perspective. For example, if their pair have a kid, so they're trying to take care both of the parents. So, and also both of the parents, they're usually working, because nowadays it's quite difficult to not to work. You have to earn money
Yes,
somehow.
sure.
And I think the money issue is one of the reason or why it's becoming a bit better, but still it is quite difficult. Also, I would say it's also very much depends on the location. Where
Mm.
do you live?
Yeah. Yes.
And if it is like in Kiev, it might be one situation. If you're outside of Kiev in a village, it's completely different story.
Yeah. That's the same here. I would agree with you. That.
Yeah. So as far as I got, because I've listened few of your interviews, you're teaching at the art academy.
Hmm.
Because I also recently graduated from the masters. What is important to teach and to tell from your side to those art students now?
Yeah. I think for me, the most important thing is, and maybe we are back to the issue you talked about, not to choose a topic because it's up to date at the moment, but really to look and to find your inner voice, and to really to find, okay, what do I want to say, and what is my language? And then you burn for that your whole life, and you have to keep that for yourself, and that should not be destroyed through the art market, through exhibitions, or to when you're getting known or famous. That's not the point. You really have to yeah, keep the freedom of art, I think. And that's the I try to to tell them, okay, that's inside of you. And I also try to treat them as artists, you know.
Hmm.
They're really of course they're at a different point, but we are all artists, and we are just like looking into each other's eyes. I'm not the professor who said you have to do this and that and blah and blah. No, you have to know what you want to do, and you can share it with me. I can tell something of my view and expertise, but it's really from, yeah, also about equality.
So you're more for horizontal structure than the vertical one with the
Absolutely.
teacher and
Yes.
right. You were saying about the freedom of art and not to follow the art market. And for example, if you're completely out, or your topic is completely out of the art market, and somehow you want to earn money with your art, how to deal with this problem, in your opinion?
Yes, of course, but I also think you can also do something else, or you can go to school and teach children to keep your art for yourself. I think I mean it's up to you, of course, but sometimes I think it's like poisoning yourself if you sell the most precious thing you do. I mean, if you're painting something, but it's the wrong topic, and your gallerists say, "Yeah, I need more abstract things and not these bodies," or I don't know, then you give the most precious thing you have. And I mean, what is really important? I always asked myself when I had very little money after art academy. I didn't care, because as long as I have enough to eat, of course, we are in Germany. This is a rich country. I know this is very, so it's dangerous for me to say that. I think that other situations where you have kids and you really need to earn money to survive. And but this is not the point I'm talking from. We have a good system in Germany. So the only thing I had to fear is, okay, I have enough money. I have a place, a little place to stay. That's enough. I can make art from everything. If I can't buy the super expensive colors, I have to take something else. I can't do that as an artist. I am free. And this is the thing I wanted to keep. Of course, maybe it's not possible to earn money with my art. Yes, maybe not. But then it's always a decision. I can do something else, drive taxi.
Why not? And afterwards, make a project about it.
Yes, of course. So everything is coming to you. You can use it, and that's wonderful.
I think, especially this year, but also I think last 5 years, the world keep changing. So do you think the art, I wouldn't say the art market, but art in general, should it adapt to their current situation, and should artists invent some other forms to interact with the audience or not?
I think it's always a question. I mean, I think art always tried to find possibilities to be there. And I think it's also good to find a possibility to be in the virtual world. to conquer this space, because it's a space we live in. And I think art is so important. It should be everywhere. And we shouldn't say, okay, no, it's so boring, these virtual spaces. I stay and paint, or I do my pinhole photography. I don't know, because of course we have to deal with our time. And I also think I mean, Mark Zuckerberg said years ago, it was in his documentary, once we lived in cities and now we live in the internet. I mean, this is a place, and why not making art with it? Of course, sometimes it's always in the beginning, it's difficult. And then we have strange and maybe boring things, or this virtual reality that looks not so good compared to games because they have more money, of course. But why not make an experience? And we have to conquer that world, of course.
I also think in one of your interviews you told that that's a pity that there is not enough. Sometimes there is not enough audience for their artworks.
I don't remember, but
I mean, just for the, as far as I understood, maybe I interpreted incorrectly, but just for the general audience who have nothing to do with art, and but they might be also interested in an artwork. What do they like? How to deal with this? Don't you think that sometimes artists they might be too elite?
yes, that's a sad thing. But therefore, me, for example, I decided in the beginning of YouTube to put my videos online from the beginning. And a lot of curators and galleries said, oh no, YouTube, you cannot do that. You have to, and afterwards you have to use Vimeo. It's just like, but I really also, to look at the beginning, I like this democratic approach. And I really like to be there at places, of course, not only in the white cube. And that's also the reason why I go, for 10 years now, I go outside with my projector and project at night somewhere in the city, because I like it to get in contact to people.
Yeah, I think that was about the projection that you were telling about the audience.
Yes, yes.
One of the last questions that I have. So, do you believe that one day all genders will be equally represented in the art world, ideally? And if yes, when approximately?
That's a good question, and I'm optimistic. Of course, that's my vision, that's my wish, but we don't know. And unfortunately, at the moment, I have to state, we have a huge problem, I think, because our world is based on algorithms at the moment. It's just like all what we are doing in the internet and everything is more and more based on that. And the problem is that there are two very important things. Who is coding these algorithms? Like white men.
Exactly.
And the
White,
next thing is,
middle
yes,
class privileged men. Usually.
exactly. And the next thing is the data that was collected, and that is the base of coding. Is the data diverse? Is it really about different people? And we know from the past and from there are so many examples that it is not, that it's like, and then when we then code an algorithm or a neural network or an artificial intelligence, then we really have an intelligence that is acting like its background. And so this, I think this is very problematic. And if we don't deal with that, because we can't look behind the curtain. We cannot look into this data. I don't know which data they choose, which data they work with. Of course, when they are when we stand up and complain about, then they will change something. But if we don't know, we don't know anything. It's also about, like, the iPhone originally was made for the size of a man's hand. I mean, that's not really about data, but it's very interesting how things are developed and our whole world. And so I think this is really a topic we have to fight for, and we have to change before it's too late.
And then the new generation of the iPhones is going to be adapted to the robot's hands.
Indeed, for the
and then you
cyborg.
never know. Yeah. And then you never know what is gonna be next.
Yes. But I mean, there's a lot of change is coming and happening, and we think about these topics, and it's good. And so, yeah.
And I think the last question, and it might be also like sounds as an advice. What do you advise for the emerging artists? I wouldn't say the young one, because you never know when you're gonna do art, in which age. So emerging, let's put it like this. What would you recommend as a starting point, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's really, maybe it's a bit similar to what I tell my students.
Yeah.
It's really, I think there is one moment when you realized, wow, art is speaking to you. It's opening a whole world to you. You saw something, maybe a photo, maybe, I don't know, a sculpture or something, and then you really were lost in the moment, because you think, wow, there is something I maybe cannot explain. Maybe that's really something that's speaking to me, and keep this alive. And if you go with this strength and power, then you find your way. Of course, maybe not the way to richness, and maybe not to fame, but is this what you really want? What is it about? So I'm ending with a question.
That's great. I think, well, that there are really important questions, and there are really important things that you have to ask yourself while you're making an artwork. Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
Yes.
So I think that's the ending of our first podcast of the Photokeep, and I would really like to say thank you to you. That I was glad to talk with you, and I think that it was quite an honest conversation.
I hope so. No, it was very, very interesting questions. And
thank you. I'm glad that you liked it, and thank you very much, and have a good day.
you too, and say hello to Carol, and good luck with everything in the online exhibition. It's very good that you're doing that, and
thank you.
Very
Thank you.
happy that I could be with you in the exhibition.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
So have a nice day.
Bye. Hope to see you one day in person.
Yes, would
Germany,
be wonderful.
Somewhere in Ukraine, maybe.
Yeah, even better. Oh my, I'm losing my headphones.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Остановить запись.